Hello and welcome to another Zoom meeting and podcast of Here's Tom with the Weather, where we investigate the plethora of higher powers that populate the vast universe of 12-step recovery, where alcoholics riff out on step 3 and step 11, as prescribed by the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, who encouraged us to find some kind of higher power as long as it's not us. We speak to people with all manner of higher powers, from those who are atheists, sufis, agnostics, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, followers of Islam, Hermetics, Paganists, non-duality, and the Red Road. We leave no stone unturned. It's our aim to promote understanding and open-mindedness so that alcoholics and addicts can find a higher power of their own to stay sober and carry the message. We promote tolerance and empathy for folks who might have different spiritual practices than us. It's all about live and let live. And please just remember that this is not an AA meeting or an NA meeting. It's just some people's version of the truth. And sometimes we speak to seekers, to gurus, and to people not necessarily in recovery. But today we are. And today we're going to speak to Mr. Wayne Snellgrove. Hi, Wayne. How you doing, mate?
Hi, good. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thanks very much for coming along. And I'm just going to read a very short bio because I don't want to give too much away, but this is a bio of Wayne. Wayne William Snellgrove of the Salto tribe, Fishing Lake First Nation. He's an Indigenous author, Canadian Genocide 60 scoop survivor. He's a twice USA Swimming National Champion and USA Swimming National Team member in 1995. He's the only full-blood Native American to accomplish this feat. Wayne was stolen at birth from his tribe and culture and given to the Canadian foster care system. 32 years later, he was reunited with his mom. Wayne has walked the Indigenous spiritual path called the Red Road for over 30 years with his elder, Tony Stonehawk. He's sober for several years and attends 12-step meetings. He's the author of the best-selling Daily Medicine book, which is an Indigenous-based medicine book. And there's an introduction for you, Wayne. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. Very impressive. Very impressed with the swimming and everything else, mate. So just let's get down to it. And I really want to get down to the brass tacks straight away. Describe to me how did the alcohol and the drug addiction, how did that manifest? How did that come about?
Well, really just separation from everything that was right, normal, and natural. People say, when was your first drink or drug? And I would say absolute fear was there, terror was there. I fed on those for a long time. Then it turned into terror and then rage. And then by that point, I was really ready, probably in 13, 14, 15, 16, really ready to tackle alcohol. And when alcohol kind of hit my system, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel bad. It just felt different. And I was ready at that point for anything different, anything other than that constant, the drug of self-loathing and really self-hating. It was really, it was so bad. My first suicide attempt was at age 7, completely sober, the next one was at 12. So you can imagine, the setup for like if you want to create an alcoholic, tear him away from his tribe culture, put him into a foreign culture, foreign language. And, and this is the mid 70s too. So mid 70s. So it wasn't like it is now today, a lot of mixed interracial, marriages and adoptions like that. I mean, I was the only white thing I was in the middle of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which back then was really white freaking suburbia central, back then. So I just, I gravitated toward anything different.
So I'll just ask a question. I read your biography and I was fascinated that you actually, you weren't as a child when you were put into your adopted family, you got on well with them. They were good people. They looked after you quite well.
Yes, they, really did, but perception, we got to talk about perception and, the eyes and the heart that I was really seeing with what was of a fear-based, because my first memory of life was absolute terror. I just remember a lot of beds, and I was there. It wasn't anything right, normal, and natural. And in fact, it's funny that you say family. I didn't know I had one until I was like 12. I mean, I was with him for half a dozen years. Like actually, I got adopted at 2 or 3. So by 12, I figured out that that was my family because, I really had no perception, idea really what a family was before them because I never had one, There were these people that were there and they were good to me. And in hindsight, I really had hit the lottery when I got adopted and not part of, I didn't age out in the system type thing. I was adopted really, really late. But again, I know concept or feeling. And my thing with them was, okay, this is just another thing that I have to survive. You're white. And I figured that out 4 or 5 or 6 that I wasn't white. And I
Right.
figured out that you were white. And probably a couple years later, I figured, well, like if I can't be white, I might as well kill myself, kind of thing. And that's really just, and I blame myself for not being white because that's what kids do. I don't love you less, I love me less. So it's really, um, so the family concept really didn't come around. I didn't understand what that was. I just, they were there and
I
I
get
was
it.
here and I had to survive them.
Because it's I guess there's you've had sort of like a double or a triple whammy, because there's a lot of people in AA with addiction problems who were adopted, but you had the double thing where you were adopted and you were ripped out of your culture as well. And so I'd ask the question is, do you think that you would have always been an alcoholic or an addict if you hadn't been torn away from your culture, from your natural heritage?
Great, great question. Well, here's the thing. There's historical trauma there. Either way, we are all traumatized when the invasion came over, and that's a gentle way of putting it. It's really genocide, which I'm a product of, which is really part of that
Sure.
continual marginalization and genocide and outright killing. What they did to me is in the UN as active, genocide right there. So let's start right there, and
Sure.
then what they did to my father, my my grandfather, it was wholesale slaughter. And I'm not busting on any religion, but they said one book or the bullet type thing. So
Sure.
it's really, and then there's a residential schools type thing. Consistent force. Let's just call it what it is. Try to keep it PG, but there was a lot of sexual abuse there. Not only from the church run residential schools,
Yes.
but they force the kids to have sex with them in like the lower grades. So they infused that, and we know now, and we knew then that generational trauma had passed down. So
Sure.
whether I really was going to be like a full blown alcoholic, I still was going to be probably some sort of rage machine kind of thing,
Sure.
and anything at that point, it's what does that look like at the end? And like if I were to guess, I would have found drinking and drugging anyway. So
I'm sure. I mean, it's not just in your own culture. I mean, I'm originally from Australia, where
yeah,
the
yeah,
damage that was done to the Indigenous people there was similar,
yeah,
similar,
yeah,
similar. Well, probably exactly the
yeah,
same kind of story, and
yeah,
that's they're still sort of coming up
yeah,
with trying to fix that, which has
yeah,
been
yeah.
utterly traumatic. So growing up and up until that age, you said up 5 and 6. Did you have any kind of, were there any spiritual faith in your life? I mean, was it a Christian household? What,
That,
what sort of
yeah.
religious sort of thing were you brought up in?
So let's talk about that historical thing that was passed down. It's not only historical trauma that's passed down, but it's also the wisdom that's passed down too. So I knew I would look out that window, I would cry for my mother. I said, why? What is happening, man? Again, I just love myself less, like I loved you more, but I love myself less kind of thing. But the beautiful thing is, and it's really hindsight now, 2020, is I knew that there was something beautiful and powerful and wonderful. I could look at the trees, the birds, the clouds, the moon, everything, and I could see God. In fact, I could even see God in people, but I couldn't see God in myself. In fact, from where I was, from what happened to me, I knew that God had forgotten me. That like I was born with a cleft palate. I had a lisp. I had all these like learning disability problems and all this thing. And again, no, I didn't love you less. I loved me less. And I said, you know what? my lip, that's why God forgot about me, because God loves beautiful white children, and I'm not a
Right.
beautiful white children, but I knew that God was out there. I just couldn't see him within me.
Hmm. I'm sort of interested again, and I'm not dismissing what you're saying there, but were you brought up in a religious household just when your adopted parents, or was it just secular?
No, no, it was just kind of like, I think we went to the Unitarian United 3 or 4 times. I think my mom, my white mom, God bless her heart, and she tried to instill some sort of thing in there with us. But here's like the really beautiful thing is that we went my family loved hiking, loved backpacking, and that was really my love, because from where I came from, that I didn't know, but they were taken to my church. I didn't know that, until much later on, that, hey, I feel love, I feel compassion, I feel, when I touch the trees, when I listen to the birds, there was something absolutely beautiful there. So did they take me to a church? No, but did they take me to church? Yes.
Okay, that's a lovely answer. Fantastic. So as you grew up and you realized, and so when you said you described the age of when you realized that you were kind of a cuckoo in the nest, you weren't
Oh,
there, you weren't part of that. What age had, what was that, what did that feel like in terms of the long term of your addiction and your alcoholism? What did that feel like for you when you realized that
difference.
you weren't
Like
there?
like like I would go home at 4 or 5 and just be like, oh my God, there's people out there and they're white. And I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, oh my God. And I would take hours to try to scrub off, because they would call me dirty. My hair was obviously jet black and I was dirty, and I would sit there and I would cry because I couldn't, because I could not take my native skin off. But I really, really tried. So there's a huge, huge difference there. I couldn't conform to anything that they wanted me to be, and I knew that. And in the end, it just made me very, very sad, because I knew at some point that I could never be you, and I definitely didn't want to be me.
That's okay. That's very traumatic. I'm very sorry to hear that. So as you grew, the low self-esteem, the
Loathing, hatred.
it grew and grew, and so is it the same story that we get? Can you describe how you sort of came into recovery? At what stage you decided to get into
Oh
recovery?
my God. Um, well, I'll tell you the exact moment. I can remember I was a national level swimmer, believe it
Sure.
or not. I'm bigger than, I'm 6'4" and 230. I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
And back then, back in the late 80s, I was big and was one of the best high school swimmers in the country, nationally ranking, budding on national stardom type thing. And then I can remember I busted my wing up. I was supposed to go to Stanford, all these powerful swimming schools, and then I busted my wing, rotator cuff, and like that was that. And so all these phone calls and my future basically fade away into nothing, because no one's going to, a scholarship is an investment, and they don't want to invest in damaged goods. And now what I felt inside was representing in my physical, and now I was damaged goods. So then I went on a big bender. So my first rehab, introduction to rehab, was at Beach Hill, New Hampshire, back in 80 something, 88. I think I was 17 or 18. So I was a senior, but it was, and that was the first time. I'd never been introduced to any kind of recovery before. It was kind of like, and I remember what they talked about, and having no idea what they were talking about, like sponsorship meetings, step work and stuff like that. I had no idea. So
And I guess there's a lot of people would see that
yeah,
that if you get into particularly like AA and you see the big book, it does have its roots in a lot of cases. It does sort of have a Christian,
sure,
I guess,
sure.
dare I say, a white kind of a feel to it. Perhaps it's written
Bible,
by a lot,
yeah,
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 a white.
Bible
So
based.
how did that alienate you at all? Did you feel any? If the
That
message
was,
worked for you, but was there something about it that maybe didn't ring true for you as well?
you know, I read that and I understood that and I heard that. And, again, at that point, I wanted to be I didn't know how big this monkey was on my back. I didn't understand the extent, the damage, the wounds. I didn't understand that. And it was really, who's going to tell a 17-year-old that they got to tell the truth? They got to be by 9, got to tell the truth. You got to do step 3, step 4, turn over to this. And it was really just fell on really deaf ear. But really, the Bible thing, it really, it always irks me. Maybe it's something sort of like generational or something like that, but you really, I can't really discern if it was just like a 17-incher just pouting, or if it really just kind of like resisting, or if it was really something bigger, something more generational, like some sort of really understanding, and recognizing that historical trauma where they said the Bible, the bullet type thing. Maybe I did recognize it was really just kind of like,
Sure. So, and just fast forwarding a little bit, and I'll just remind everyone now, if you've got any questions for Wayne, then put them in chat again, and send them to myself or Anne or Kaiser or Lebowski, and we'll make sure we get it to Wayne. We've got quite a few people in the room, so it's really great to see everyone. Can you describe the moment when you found? Well, okay, the big question is, what's your higher power? Describe to me the red road, and tell me describe the moment when this all came to you. I mean, it must have been a thrill to go from somebody who's been isolated and torn away from that to actually finding your home, coming home, I guess. Can you describe that moment to me?
Bits and pieces, and pieces, gradually bits and pieces. The red road, medicine wheel, a connection to all things beautiful. There's so many sacred hoops, so many sacred people, so many sacred circles. And, early addiction would be for me to describe as a complete disconnection to all things, where I'm really left with no other alternative to put something in my arm, inhale something, or swallow something. That's my only alternative to not being connected to all those things beautiful. And I'm not, and I've gotten over the victim talk and the blame shame talk type that. I speak that really well, but that's not a mark of seasoned, mature recovery. So kind of where we're at here is really moving away from that, is really learning how to connect to all things beautiful, and really understanding and really feeling that within type thing, really knowing that I am related to the birds and it's I am related to everything, and everything is related to me. I am beautifully related to everything, and everything beautiful is related to me. I had found my place in the circle, which also included 12-step work, but it's so much bigger than that. I would have sold myself short that if I stood in AA and only stayed in AA, that sells my Wayne Snellgrove butt short every time. But you see, the medicine wheel, the red road, the elders, the connection between our ancestors and our connection to those future ancestors. I stand at the intersection of healing both right now, and that is a beautiful, once I got that concept, that beautiful love, that beautiful understanding, I'm like, wow, I've got it. I've arrived. I can connect to all things beautiful. I can connect to those ancestors because they're in the wind, they're in the water, they're in the fire, they're in the earth, and I can connect at any time. And that's not something that they teach you in a 12-step program. It's like you got to pick this one thing, it's up there, it's out there, and I'm down here. Well, I don't feel very connected if I'm down here and it's up there. But like when I walk in nature, when I feel the water, when I breathe the free air, when I listen to the unheard, when I see the unseen, then I know these are all traditional teachings, that I know that there's something big, beautiful, and powerful, not only out there, but within myself. And I just can't help but cry and be happy and be sober about it.
That's just beautiful. That's unbelievable. Don't jump the gun. I've got so many questions I want to ask you, and I'm sure we've got a few already coming up. So again, if you've got any questions, put them in chat and we'll get them to you. So it's Tony Stonehawk is your elder. Is he the guy that actually introduced you to your coming home? Or can you tell us how that happened? How did you? Can you actually tell me the day that happened, when you realized who you were and what you were going to be doing?
Okay. Tony, I love him. Been with him for 30 years. Nancy Cook, great, beautiful elder. I still talk to him a couple times a week. He's older now. He's in his early 90s now. But Tony Stonehawk, young, angry, disturbed, violently rageful kid who'd been incarcerated, but who's also been on the national team. So it's like kind of like, like really just like, you want to talk duality, that's real duality. Whether, I'm going to win a national championship today, or I'm going to shoot somebody today, or I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, Judge, I got in trouble again. You caught me again, But, he was the first guy in my life that truly, really, truly wanted me to be involved. People want you to be involved when you win. I understand that really, and that's a beautiful thing. But it takes away the color issue. When you win, color's no longer an issue. So that was huge. But he was the first person who really genuinely and gently said, I just want to sit with you. And I didn't know why, because there'd been some sort of like abuse, keep this PG, but there'd been some abuse early in my life. And I didn't understand, at 20 something, what this older guy wanted me to do or do to him or for him, and whatever. I didn't understand that, because in a sick mind, that's where I went. That's where I go, I went. But there was that gentle nudge, and I call it a little nudge from above. The spirit just kind of said, go sit with him. He's good. And that was the first time that I really and you want to talk about true like recovery. That was really my first connection to life right there. To really have an elder just say, just come sit with me. I want nothing from you. And he really taught me what love is, and what love really is I want everything for you and nothing from you. And he showed me that. And that was really the first time anyone had ever done that to me. And done that. Hey, he just wants the best for me. And like it was like a weird concept, because I'm stuck in the colonial concept where everybody wants something for you, and they want it for free, and they want it right now, and it's just like and that's that. It's, but he genuinely said, let's just come pray together. That's it. It's as simple as that. I want you here, and I just want you to pray together, and I want you to be healthy.
Wow.
I don't know if that answers your question. I totally forgot your question. I just go off. I'm running in some direction.
It's for all of us. I guess if you're in recovery, it's sort of it doesn't matter what your spirituality is, but when you realize what a truth, or what rings true for you, it's such an epiphany and such a moment. And I guess for you, who's been through so much and so many different levels, it must have been an extraordinary experience to realize where you belonged. I guess it's just that sense of coming home,
Bits and pieces. That was bits and pieces. I got a beautiful friend. He's in. We went halfway together in Hollywood, Florida, and he always would talk about bits and pieces. And I didn't quite understand it. Now I clearly get it. And you want to talk about the first beautiful piece of bits and pieces. That was with Tony wanting absolutely nothing from me, but all the good for me. He said, "Just come sit with me." And that was a big piece. And then, a bigger piece was, this is a lifetime. This is like the onion, thing, kind of peeling it back. I'm still in that place of learning healing, because I have to be in that place of humility first. Like if I want to carry ceremonies for the rest of my life, write books for the rest of my life, carry this love for the rest of my life, it has to begin with humility first, type thing. It begins with that. That's what hollow bones really is humility first, and allowing that beautiful love and that flow from that circle up there to this circle in here, to this circle out here. So I'm really in the service of the Great Spirit. Kitchen man too,
That's wonderful. So we've got a few questions coming up, and I'm going to ask one more, and this is the biggie. The biggie. What is God, and who is God? What is it? What's God?
Love. Everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. We have, the world that we live in, the colonial world, has these blinders on. It tells us to be separated, to be scared, to live in fear, to you're over there. Religion tells us, you're Jewish, you're this, you're Indian, you have to be over there. This is over here, and that's anti-love. Really, what love is absolutely all inclusive, all nurturing. I can't believe I'm going to say this all the time. It sounds like, someone ought to make a t-shirt like that. All love, all the time. But like, if you could see what I feel, you know, in the spiritual place that I am right now, is even when I go outside, there's love emanating from absolutely everywhere. You know, it's just like touching, you know, we are so separated from other sacred circles. And I'm not talking, and I know a lot of people out there are just saying, like, talking to true, like, no, we are one sacred, that's one sacred group. There are millions of others. And there's the fish people, the sandy people, the trees, the birds. They all have a sacred medicine for us. They all want, they are begging, including Mother Earth, begging for a relationship with us. So what is God? God, creator, great spirit, is everything, and it's everything that is love. And it is so vast, it's so wide, it looks like everything out there, because it can't possibly look like it comes from one direction. Religion tells us that love comes from one direction. You know, it's kind of like, okay, one book, one direction. Well, the medicine wheel really explains this, that love comes from every direction, because wind comes from every direction, just like it cannot. You know, we breathe it in, we breathe it out. It is all around us. It is up for us to not just see it, but recognize it, understand it, and then accept it, and then love everything else that is around here too. We are killing this world because we don't understand this world, and we are not loving this world. What I do to you, I do to myself. What I fail to do you, to do myself. So I've really made it my life's mission to really change the perception of humanity. I'm swinging for the fence here. I know that. I'm really swinging for the fence. But I'd rather swing and miss than not swing at all. You know, than sit in some little lonely meeting somewhere and just talk about me and my problems. I'd rather talk about you and our problems, and how we can resolve that. And the medicine wheel really talks about all roads coming in. Here, this is your basic medicine wheel. We are right here. All roads are right here, and we are all at the intersection of all roads, all love, all power, all grace, all beauty, all the time. And we miss it because we got CNN, we got Fox News, we got vaccines now, which again creating that separation, you know. But it's mind-boggling how quickly they want us to keep us in fear and in that separation. But I'm just saying, hey, love everybody all the time, man. They're just like, you know.
It's funny, we've had so many different guests on here every week, and it all comes down to the same thing, mate, that we're all one. It's quite amazing. We had Rupert Spire on here who said exactly the same thing. We've had a guy, Yisrael C, who's a Jewish guy, and he said exactly the same thing. So it's quite amazing. So thank you. So let's get in the questions, because I've said too much.
Okay.
So Drew M asks, do you still experience self-loathing, and how do you manage it, if you do?
I am human. And so Grandfather Tonyism, and that's Tony Stone Hawk. I call him Pops. So when I call Pops, that's Tony. So when Pops talked about we rise to be human, we rise to be human, like that. We are in a human experience right now. I go through very, very human things, you know, and you know, and I heard a beautiful elder. I sat with a beautiful elder down in Florida, a young elder, and he says, you know, I just want to be a little better human than I was yesterday. That is very, very manageable for me. Like if someone said you got to be perfect tomorrow, that would put me in panic, because I don't even know what that would look like. I don't even know. It's like, you know, kind of wake up, not heard, but not say anything. You know, it's like I don't even know what that would look like. But hey, you know what? Know what's manageable? I can do a little better than I did yesterday. I can love you a little better than what I did yesterday. I can connect to that beautiful world. There's beautiful trees, there's beautiful feathers, there's beautiful clouds, sun, moon, everything that is medicine. I can connect to that a little better than I did yesterday. And when I do that, I can love you a little better.
Did you just say that again? You said that is medicine. So the wind, the clouds, everything, that is medicine.
Everything is medicine. Well, everything out there is medicine. Crack is medicine. Really bad medicine. You know, Jack Daniels, really bad medicine. Puts me in handcuffs. You know, the long-term incarceration. So you know, the clouds, they have a spirit, and everything has spirit. You know, medicine. You know, it's just good for us. It breathes us. Anything that really good medicine is anything that creates and nurtures, honors, respects. You know, a good life type thing, a good healthy life.
Okay, so hang around after the show, everyone, as well. So if you want to get some after this is finished, and we'll see if we get some dates and stuff of because I know you do a reflections thing, a meditation thing every day on Facebook.
Every morning.
Soon to be on Zoom. So we'll
soon to be on Zoom.
The details in there. Now, Joe C., who's a regular guy on here, and he's from Toronto, another Toronto person. Joe's got a question. Joe, go to it, mate.
Wayne, thanks for sharing. That was just wonderful. And thanks, team Tom. It's been great. I have 60 Scoop friends who are almost re-traumatized by the reconciliation process. And some of them have substance use problems, and some of them have other problems. Everyone has mental health issues. But even settlers who are separated from their natural parents at birth, the ones I know in recovery have an extra special trauma or concern there. Just for people who work with other people in recovery, this issue of that sort of separation at birth, is there anything that someone should take into account in terms of their own recovery or people working with people who have been affected this way?
So people specifically working with those that have been wounded, or those
have been separated at birth from their natural parents?
Yes, well, that's let's take a look at what that is. Earth, mother, Earth. There's a natural bond there between mother and child, and there's a lot of mothers out there, especially the mothers, because they're the intersection between the seen and the unseen, the spiritual and the physical. So when that is torn away, there's trauma there, And let me answer that with a story. What I had to do was I this is only a few years ago too, probably 4 or 5 years ago. About 4 or 5 years ago. I sit and pray and meditate, and I'm in ceremony a lot. So one of those things is, and I've dedicated my life to the spirit and what I've served to do to help out humanity as other two-legged. And spirit said one day, you are not to do another ceremony. You are not to do another. And I'm just sitting there thinking that is like, I get it. And I had to ask again, and they said there will be death if you do another ceremony. And I said, okay, well, let me pray about this, And so I stood there with my pipe and my feather, and I prayed and I cried. And I said, what do I need to do? And they said, you need to go back to the place. And Frank Many Horses after came through. I mean, know the guy. He actually has to be like a real guy, but that's what I heard. And so he said, you have to go back to the original wound and purify that wound. And so that's what I did. A couple months later, I was at Wadena Hospital, Saskatchewan, on those hospital grounds, the place where I was torn from the first, the first wound. And I had to go back there, and I just sit, and I didn't even know what that looked like. I'm driving there like, because I was hopeful my mom wanted to be involved. I was hopeful a couple of tribal elders wanted to be involved, so they could kind of rally around me type thing. But it ended up spirit wanted nobody else there. They just wanted me, the hospital, and creator just sitting together. So I just sat there, and I didn't know what it was. I arrived there about 8 o'clock in the morning. I stayed there till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and I cried. And I had to go through everything, and they wanted me to physically go back and remember what that was like in that separation. And I had to go back there and I could physically go back there at 40-something years old and really just reconnect and really, and part of that was being okay with those people and I can see things. And so I saw those people literally taking me away, and I had to love them anyway. We talk about forgiving the unforgivable, loving the unlovable. And I was both. Because I don't love you less, I love me less, So the first wound had to begin with me, and honoring that place and that place of hurt and that place and turn that into, love. And so I would really say what Frank Many Horses came through and said, go back to that place. Go back to that place. And I would suggest, don't do it the way I did it. It can look like a lot of things, and just follow your guides, your wisdom, your elders, your ancestors, whatever that looks like, that's fine. We all heal differently, but the same. But, go back to that place, sit with them, and just have as many healing ceremonies as you can. Sit with them, love with them. We are all behind on our tears.
Wow.
We are all behind on our tears. And in order for us to get to that place of absolute healing, which is moving toward that love, the realm of love, is, we have to let it rain. I am a crier. That's just what I am, and I understand the power of the tears, and I understand what will happen to me if I don't do the tear ceremony. I will drink and use, and I will die again.
Wow.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks,
Wow.
Wayne.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks. Trust you to come up with a question.
Got a little deep there, huh?
I'm just going to. So the ceremony of tears. Can you give us an idea what that entails?
Cry.
Just crying, yeah?
Going back to ceremony of tears, it's one that we have a lot of lost ceremonies out there, and that brings us, the medicine world talks about the ancient sacred agreements and really what that was. So really, let me touch on that. So in the beginning, when life came to Earth, there were agreements between life and all life, including the two-leggeds, that we would live in harmony and balance. And so what had happened was we as two-legs forgot that ceremony. We forgot to celebrate all other life. Excuse me. We forgot to celebrate all other life. And there's a lot of ways that we could do that. The lost ceremony of listening. We don't listen to each other. And that is the first form of communication, is absolute listening. Not, we are spiritually dyslexic. We think talking is our first form of communication. It is our last form of communication. Everything else comes before that. This lost ceremony of listening, and listening brings us into those unseen realms, which we will never get to if we're busy talking and running our mouth, talking on the phone, CNN, like all that other distraction, the colonial distraction. Turn off everything, sit there. The one thing that we can't do anymore is just sit. I love there's means of recovery when nobody says anything, and then someone says, all right, I'll just raise my hand. I can't stand the talk. I can't stand when everybody's, what, I got to say something, and just it's been 30 seconds, it's been 11 seconds of nobody talking, and I'll just say something just to say something. And that's wisdom heading in the wrong direction. We have to be comfortable with sitting alone, sitting with ourselves, sitting with our thoughts, and that's the lost ceremony of listening, sitting still. There's so many lost ceremonies that really bring us to a place that we can real consciously, unconsciously, seen and unseen, feel, relate, honor. When we feel, relate, and honor, we love ourselves more. And then when we deny ourselves that, we consciously move away from the spirit. And now, we do that long enough, we will eventually drink, act out, and our life will go sideways again. And it doesn't have to be drinking or drugging. There's a lot of isms that come. There's a lot of family members that come with drinking and drugging type thing. Alcoholism doesn't come alone. It comes and it brings his family, and it brings their families and their families. So it's like when we put down the drink, that there's lust issues, there's gambling issues, there's codependency issues, there's all these other issues that are direct family members of the first ism, which it looks like for many of us out there is like the drinking. So all these, it's a domino effect that really, like if we don't pay attention, listen, feel, listen to our hearts, then we have no other choice than to go out and commit suicide.
Wow. This has been an extraordinary meeting so far. So just to remind everyone, got a few more questions, put them in chat and send them to me. Also to say that this podcast will be available on iTunes and Spotify, hopefully in the next day or so. We're also on YouTube. So look for Here's Tom with the Weather. That's the name of this podcast. Here's Tom with the Weather. And we've also got a Facebook page, which will be in chat. So please join us. We're here every week at the same time, where we do a similar kind of investigation. And it's not as always good as this one, but it's always pretty good. So please come back. So anyway, Brent F has a great question. Brent from the Big Easy Company says, can you tell us about the flute? And if appropriate, can we hear the sound of it?
Beautiful question. Beautiful. Okay, flute.
Oh, he's got one.
I'm going to play for you, actually.
Go for it.
It's about time for us to get a little grounded. We've been I can feel the energy. It's kind of like everybody's everywhere. So we're going to do a little, this is standing people medicine, and standing people medicine is grounding medicine. So I'm not the first one to play the song. The standing people are the first one to play the song. We are gifted this song from the standing people, and the standing people want us to be very, very, very grounded. That's a big part of, their medicine. When the seed grows, it grows down first, and it grows ground in all directions. And it's something that we as humans really, really have to learn, and we fail to do. And you want to talk about recovery, start there. Basic, Indian spirituality 101, people like the trick type thing, And so when we play the flute, that there's an unseen, powerful spirit there, which automatically grounds us. Because even though this is a flute now, it was a tree, and it still carries that beautiful, beautiful grounding medicine. So. I could play that all day. I'm actually working on my first album right now, so.
Send us the details.
So first album, it's just really just, and during my morning meditations, I play for like a little longer, but in the interest of time here and getting to everybody's questions, I'm going to stick around for as long as you need me to anyway today.
I think we'll have a few we're going to be here all day, I reckon, mate. That's
fantastic. Yeah. So, but that flute medicine is really beautiful and grounds us. And what it really does, it brings us to a better place that we need to be reminded of, that we're already there. It's just a reminder of being gentle, focused, and grounding. Everything that tree literally stands for, we already are, and it reminds us, and it brings back to that beautiful, beautiful place.
Okay, thank you. So we've got a few more questions. We're going to race through it here. We've got quite a few here, Wayne. So if you can hang around. So Kimia asks that she says that she's humbled to be in your presence, and thank you for carrying the message. She's interested to know how you mitigate the gap between assimilation and acceptance in this program. Also, can you tell us more about reuniting with your birth mother, which is something I was going to touch on, but yes, but the assimilation and acceptance in the program is very interesting for me. So yeah, if you could.
And are we particularly talking about a 12-step program?
I think that's what she's saying, yes.
Okay, 12-step program, let's go back to medicine wheel. Medicine wheel, white road, Bible, white people, also they have the invasion. They also, it's not all bad. It's all good. We kind of have that false narrative that if it comes from the Bible, it's like a white thing. And really, the medicine wheel tells us that the spirit, the message of love is everywhere all the time. The Bible caught bits and pieces of that, and it's really good. Some aspects are really, really good. And so those are the aspects that I really focus on, because I had to take a big U-turn around that for a long time and said, you know what, were you Christian? You slaughtered my family. You really did. You raped and murdered my family for generations. And, there's a big place of hurt here. But, Tony, those elders said, look, man, we got to live if we're going to live spiritual, we have to live gentle. We have to honor, love, accept that place, and accept that what happened is bad, and we can mourn that loss, but we can also celebrate the good that comes from there too. So, and we have to remember that the medicine wheel is all inclusive. So there really is no separation between the medicine wheel and the celebration of life and parts of the Bible. They are already one type thing. So what's the second part of that question, David? Please and thank you.
Reconciling. So in terms of reconciling with your mother. So I think just to elaborate, just tell us about the day when you reunited with your mom.
All right, we'll do a quick preamble here. I'm just going to run through it real quickly. So my adopted mother had passed away. I was living in Florida. I had to fly up to my mom's funeral, one of the most pivotal days of my life. I am staying there at her casket. Cancer had destroyed her. And then I realized I didn't lose one mother. I lost two. One of the most devastating, powerful days of my life. No one should ever feel like they lost two mothers in one lifetime. That's just the worst. And so anyway, it took me 7 years. It was before really desktops. So just everybody remember that dial up? We had the slow dial up. We had a dial up and yeah, and we had to wait like 45 minutes to like get connected. So anyway, it took me 7 years. My dad was a organic chemist. He was a research organic. He was really meticulous in his records. I grabbed his records, and grabbed them and opened them up and found a lot on the U.S. side as far as my adoption, but not so much on the Canadian side. I guess they were kind of hard to track type thing, And anyway, it took me 6 years to find my mom and ended up with 3 names and 3 numbers on a piece of paper. And I couldn't call that because of fear of being rejected all over again and being the product of rape or incest and say, Wayne, you got a cleft palate and we freaking hate your ass, man. I couldn't take that. I would eat a bullet again. I'm very capable. I'm a survivor of 17 suicide attempts. So I'm very capable of in recovery, sobriety, of putting a gun in my mouth, so I knew that. So anyway, I've been researching adoption reunion sites for like a long time, for as long as I can remember. And then I came across an adoption reunion, Canadian adoption reunion website. And I'm like, look at this. So I was doing this thing, and and then it talked about the 60 scoop thing. And I emailed that woman that night, Ann Patterson, that night. She emailed 5 minutes later. And I explained to her what is happening. She said, call me the next day. I called her the next day, gave her the whole story, gave her the 3 names and 3 numbers, and said, look, I said, look, if she doesn't want me, just say, you have to tell me because my life is in the balance right now, in the balance. I said, look, it didn't work out. Let's just keep looking. I'm telling you to lie to me, and I will believe that lie. Because if I don't, I will eat that bullet. I will do that, And so anyway, so she called up. She said, well, give me 2-3 days to make these phone calls. I said, good. The next day she called. I was mowing the front lawn and I could hear the phone ring. I ran in, grabbed it, and we had house phones. So it's kind of like, ha, ha, ha. We were house phones. It was like those chords. And I can remember, and it was Ann. And she just said, I spoke to the most wonderful woman I have ever spoken to. And it was my mom. And she said she loved me. So that same window that I looked out at every night, crying, praying for my mom to love me, she always did. And she always, she celebrated my birthday every day. Every year she celebrated my birthday. And she told me that they missed me and that they loved me and everything that I needed to hear as to grow spiritually, because I felt like forgotten. Nobody likes to feel forgotten or thrown away, rejected or abandoned, and I felt all those all the time. And so and so when I heard that, I was filled up with good. And I was filled up with that light of healing. And that was one of the first times that I knew that everything was going to be all right, no matter what. And I still had my journey with drugs and alcohol after that, because there's still an ongoing process there. And there was no white light or burning bush, but a huge part of me had felt in the place that I had somehow belonged among the people of Earth type thing. And that didn't happen until I heard Ann Patterson said, I just spoken to you. And I will remember that. There's an umbilical between me now and that moment. We have an umbilical to everything that we've ever done, especially ceremony. And so I can remember that umbilical, and I can go back there and I can re-feel that good feeling. So when I'm in that place of hurt, I can go back there and be like, Wayne, you are lovable.
Thank you very much, Wayne. We've got a friend, another guy who's a regular at this meeting, Kurt Zimmerman. Kurt Z, you've got a question, haven't you?
Yeah, Wayne, I'd like to thank you for your medicine. And about 28 years ago, I met a guy at a monastery that was doing a retreat named Don Coyas. And Don and I have been friends for a long, long time. Yeah, I noticed you when you held that. That's what my question was. I wanted to have you talk a little bit more about 12 steps in the medicine wheel.
12 steps in the medicine wheel. Well, I met Don Coyes this time last year. Beautiful elder, beautiful. We did a beautiful healing session together. We were out in Santa Fe doing multiple pathways to recovery. I was out in Santa Fe, and I was honored to be out there. And again, there's nothing new in the 12 steps that aren't already in the medicine wheel. The reason why we have Don Coyes and his well-variety movement is because of the wounds that the Bible, the carriers of the Bible, they walk with that, the wounds that we still carry. But everything that is in the medicine is in the 12 steps is already in the medicine wheel. It may look a little differently, but nobody owns spiritual concepts. Nobody owns God. Nobody owns love. Nobody owns compassion. Nobody owns gentleness. Nobody owns that stuff. It belongs to all of us all the time. And really, that's what the medicine wheel really teaches us, is that that we can connect to that beauty anytime we want to. There's some certain things like third and fourth, fifth steps that we have to go over. I get that. That's very clear. We have to practice that medicine of truth and honesty, which is really not synonymous with really any culture right now. It's kind of, we're all struggling with that. So we have to, but it's absolutely all in the medicine wheel. Everything is. It has to be.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks. Good to see you again. Now, a question from Anne, I think it is. Anne said, this is from Chuck. Wayne, hello, Wayne. I too was removed from my culture and grew up in a white world and didn't begin searching for my belonging until I was around 34 years old. I am feeling the warmth and connection with your powerful words. I heard you ask Tony once, when does ceremony end? And he said it never ends. Could you elaborate on that a little more? Thank you, brother.
Sure. Ceremony, what is ceremony? What is that? There's very specific ceremonies. More traditional people would say that we're in ceremony right now, which we are. We create that sacred space. We honor the space. We have that connection here. We are in a sacred hoop right now, and it's one of those things. And let me tell you a story. Let me tell you real quick. So I was on Brighton Seminole Reservation in Okeechobee, Florida, and it had been a long day of ceremonies, traditional sweat lodge ceremony, and I was a firekeeper and all that, and I can remember, talking to Tony, and I said, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was beautiful. We were exhausted, but we had that glow, that beautiful glow when you're in that moment of love and life and cherishing and being connected to all things. But I was exhausted. I said, well, thank God, I love ceremony, and I'm a little thankful ceremony's over right now. And he just kind of looked at me the way those elders do. I'm sure some of you recognize that. He just kind of looked at me and said, ceremony's never over. And I just said, you're right. Medicine Wheel talks about it from birth to death. That is the ceremony. From innocence to wisdom. That is the ceremony. We, they say, and it's something I share in 12 steps all the time. The real meeting begins after the meeting. The real meeting happens between the meetings type thing. And it's really, the real ceremony begins when the ceremony is over, because it does us no good to be all spiritual, loving, wonderful in ceremony and then cursing, the deli guy, 5 minutes after, because he's a little slow at what he does, and then put, the mayo on as well as we did. It's just kind of like, we have to remember and be gentle at all times, because all times life is really, especially particularly Mother Earth, is really beautiful and gentle, with us.
Thank you very much.
That was a long-winded answer.
Good answer there. Very
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
I think it's Zochi in
Yeah.
Tucson. Is it Zoki? How do we say that? She wants to know, who does your
Yeah.
beadwork? She says it's amazing.
Oh, my beadwork. So this is really sentimental, and I have to. I if you notice when I first sat down with you, I didn't have it. This is my mom. My mom, gave me this right here, and this is from an elder, from a different elder. But this is my beadwork from. Beadwork's very. I got my prayer feather, my smudge feather here. So my mom gave me this. This was a gift, and this was a gift too. So gifts from every direction, man. So
Yeah, there's a question that a friend of mine, Brad, who's
okay.
is very much into well-briety,
Okay.
and he
Mhm.
wants to know whether do you keep the medicine wheel separate from when you go to an AA meeting? How do you do you keep them separate, or do you bring it in together? If you go to an AA meeting,
I bring it all in, brother, man. Ain't no separation here, man. Like it may be taboo, and like I get looked all the time. What are you talking about? Celebrate, like
Sure.
like you want to get a look in like an AA meeting. Talk about celebrating life, and you'll be like, oh my god, I mean, so people get, oh my god, it's not there. Oh my god, it's not there. Like, oh my god, it's like they get all wigged out type thing. But really that's what a medicine wheel is. It's a celebration of life. That's why we go to ceremony. That is the only reason why we go to ceremony. And I share that in AA meetings. That is the only reason why I go to AA, obviously get sober, and obviously I figured out how to stay sober. But the other thing is the larger picture that AA completely misses. They take a big swing and a miss with that. In fact, they didn't even step in the batter's box. It is really what we're doing here. What we're doing here in this plane is like you've completely missed the boat if you're trying here to stay away from the drink. You've completely missed the boat. Abstinence is good. I'm not suggesting anything else. But, when we really start to celebrate life, life really starts to celebrate us. And then the drink question just it fades away into nothing. Big Book was right. It is now in that neutral position, that neutral where it's not good, it's not bad, it's really nothing. It's not in my mind. But it's on me to help celebrate and continue that this celebration of life, and that's really connections to all those other sacred circles out there, and letting that medicine come to me freely and opening, without creating any kind of boundaries or barriers, which is really the crux of the colonial world, is really creating that adversarial type thing. And we really the community world is really manifesting itself into so okay.
Okay, got a question from the audience from Jackie.
I have all afternoon, so
thanks very much, David. Thank you, Wayne, very much. I'm also adopted, so I relate to a lot to what you were talking about. And I think in AA, we talk a lot about being a part of, not apart from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really intrigued how you've managed to, it seems like you've managed to become very much part of the community from where you originated. And my experience is that I sort of straddled two worlds and belong to neither. And I'm just interested as to how you have managed to do that.
A lot of love, a lot of prayer, a lot of acceptance. I can accept those that don't accept me. I can accept a apology that I know that I'll never get. It's just one of those things that it's there's members of my own tribe that said that I'm not from there. And what I had to do is I had to go back to the reservation, and I had to sit with the ancestors, the unseen. Let me tell you, I gotta tell a story. So quickly, So, very quickly, Soto grounds have, Soto country has a prayer grounds. We make big prayer ties, we put them around trees, and there's space kind of throughout the community. And I can remember going there with this question, not feeling like, people close to me would say, well, you're not really from here, type thing. And, that really hurt. I'm Soto through and through, but, I lived in Florida. For 30 years, So, I really wanted to know. From the ancestors what really happened. So I'm sitting there, with my tobacco, praying by the prayer guys. I made my offerings. I made food offerings. I did everything that they told me to do, and I was sitting there praying. And it's not uncommon to have riders come up, on horses, kind of traveling around the res. It just it could be resident. So I'm sitting here, and I could hear, and I wasn't going to break my prayer because that's not what I do. So I'm sitting there praying. The ground was shaking, and I said, wow, there's probably like 4 or 5 riders right around the corner. They were that close, and they're praying, and I'm feeling like I'm literally like bouncing now the ground, but I'm not going to break my prayer. I don't break my prayer for anything. So I'm sitting there praying, and then I said, and they stopped right behind me. I could feel the earth shake when it shakes, and they stopped, and I said, what to put me down, praying. And I made my offering. So I turned around and nobody was there. But what I heard is, you're one of us and you're from here. And that's all it took. And I don't care anybody. The ancestors say, I'm from there. And I don't care what Soto you are. I don't care how connected you are. I am Soto, because the ancestors said, I'm Soto and I'm from there. And I hold fast to that. I don't care if I don't speak a lot of Soto. I don't care. I don't carry a lot of Soto medicine type thing as far as traditional rites to do certain ceremonies. I don't, and I never said I did. But my ancestors says that I belong. There's a place of belonging there. I belong. And I'm supposed to be where I'm at too, a place of accepting. I'm supposed to be, I have accepted, and I'm supposed to be the bridge between both worlds. I have accepted that. That is my walk. That is my journey for the rest of my life. And it's really not up to me to judge who believes what. It's my job is to love them anyway, regardless of what they think about me or what they even do to me. Love anyway. Just love them anyway. Doesn't matter if they tell you you don't belong. Tell them I'm going to love you anyway.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Jackie. Thanks for that question. Okay, so
yeah.
Michael Stacey is another regular. He's in the gang. Michael, 2 things. He says that you've made him cry, so thanks very much for that. And
caught up in your tears.
Caught up. And
healing.
He's a good guy, Mike. He's
good healing, brother. Good.
He is, yeah. Even if he does
like to see right
here, he's a great guy.
I love hard stuff going on right here. Good.
Yeah. And but he asked, could you describe your meditation practice, please?
Meditation practice. We're doing it. This is just kind of part of what it looks like. Telling our truth. There's more formal things that I do. Let's do. Hold on. I lost my lighter. There's more formal prayers, that I do. There's ceremony that I do that looks completely different. I can't really do it here, but really, it's about knowing. It's about really connecting to the unseen and knowing that I belong to everything. And a lot of those prayers, a lot of those early meditations was really trying to figure out if I really did belong to everything, because everything out there belongs to me, and everything in me, but is a part of them. There's a symbiotic relationship with me and everything out there. So, me in recovery, I really had to figure that out and kind of walk that journey to figuring out, like like listening to the voices that the languages that don't speak type thing. You know, it's really getting into that meditative state and just really listening and really connecting to and understanding. Again, we're going back to the lost ceremony of, you know, listening. Like if you're talking during your meditation, you're probably not meditating.
All right. Thanks very much. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your
sure.
support. Now Kaiser's a regular, he's a panelist on this show. Kaiser, you've got a question?
Yes, hi Wayne. I'm Kaiser. My question is regarding back to the medicine wheel and the 12 steps.
Okay.
I tend to, it seems that I walk primarily in one world, white world, what I'm familiar with. And it also seems that you've been walking in two worlds more than I have. For someone who walks in this one world, what happens or what is brought out or what is shared when the 12 steps are put in a hoop? When I see them linearly, what happens or what's shared when they're put in a hoop? What would you share with me about that?
They're not put in the hoop, they're already in there. Okay. You know, again, we're trying to create a separation, like let's combine the two. They're already, that's like, you know, that's like the hawk being separated from the tree. They're already together, you know, kind of thing, you know. You know, it's you know, like again, let's talk about that natural flow, that natural rhythm. You know, everything is, you know, Lakota say Butaki Yasin. You know, that's, we are all related type thing, you know, both seen and unseen. You know, it goes to the physical and the spiritual. And let's talk about spiritual realms. You know, is gentleness from the white robe? Is it?
Thank you. And I have a message from someone in our community here in Minnesota. She says, her name is Nicole, and she says, don't know how to pronounce this, but she says, Miigwech.
Megwich,
yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Megwich, thank you. She Megwich, yes. She Megwich, and Ashbay.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, so that's, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Kaiser. It's great to see you.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Just a reminder that next week on this, we have Woody Gruber, who's a shaman, a very well-experienced shaman who's sort of been across the world, all around the world, and gathered up a lot of information. And he's a fascinating character. He's also in recovery. So back here again next week, same place. Maybe Wayne might even come along. It's been great having you. Also, a message from Eileen, who's in Spain, but is heavily now these days involved with Wellbriety, and is saying that Wellbriety are having a conference in Colorado Springs in September. And information about this can be found at whitebison.org.
Yeah.
And those Wellbriety meetings are on every day. They're all over, all on Zoom, and I thoroughly recommend you go to them. I've been to a few times, and they're absolutely fantastic. So I think we're going to wind it up there, Wayne. I'm going to ask actually, hold on, Jeb. Can't go by without letting Jeb have a go. Jeb, who's a free thinker and one of the good guys who comes along here every week, just wants to know a little bit more about the ceremony of tears. Can you just give us a bit more on that?
Ceremony of tears, both seen and unseen, crosses spiritual and emotional, physical boundaries. It is a release of toxins and emotions. You know, we all go to the bathroom every day, so that's part of that kind of thinking. Is that it's a process of acceptance, healing, loving, honoring, compassionate, gentleness. It's really all of those things. And when we go without those things, it's like, let's go through the spring without any rain type thing. You know, let's go through the winter without any snow. You know, it's just like, you know, what we have to do is we have to match our, you know, surroundings, because our surroundings, the earth, the medicine was very, very clear about this. You know, it teaches us that rain is good. You know, water is life. Many were Tony type thing. We all heard that. You know, but you know, water is good. Rain is good. Water is life. And you know, if you want a good life, you had better learn to let your emotions, you know, and release all those toxins, because if we keep them in, And a lot of things go sideways, and if we're in recovery, we know exactly what that looks like.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up with just one thing. I've got Kim Walking River says very lovely thing. It says, just wanted to say, to comment to you, to thank you for walking the warrior way of peace and love, and may you continue walking in beauty. And I think we'll all echo that. This has been fantastic. I can't let the day go without letting Lebowski say paradigm at least once. So, James, could you come in and have you got anything you'd like to say? A paradigm question? Any kind of paradigm question?
Well, coming from the perpetrator paradigm of the white, culture, yeah, I feel like somebody who was taken from his parents and stuck in a box and separated, and I feel all the things that you said. And I don't want to say I do in a way that would suggest I can empathize with people that have had a different experience than I've had. I don't mean to suggest that. I just mean to suggest that I could identify with that pain, even though none of those things seem to have happened. I don't have any claim to victim, like to a cultural identity that's been victimized. My claim is to a cultural identity that's been the victimizer. But you talked about the colonial mind, and when I got into recovery, I started being exposed to this idea that what I give is what I get. That's the mechanics of the universe. I receive what I give, not the other way around. And so I feel like we all walk to some degree in the same pain of what you've experienced, but whether we were the doers or the receivers, and I just I don't know how to form it into a question. I just know that your share was powerful to me.
I have a couple thoughts on that. So, we are feeling machines. That's what we are here to do, and that's a process of growth. That's a process. We are here. Part of the reason why we as two-leggeds are here is to process those negative feelings, turn them into love, and send them back out. We have pretty much forgotten how to do that. Right. So, so a lot of empaths, they talk about being victims like that. Is really, no, it's one of the greatest gifts that one, if we recognize it, two, if we can do that, make this world a better place. Second thing is, what I do to you, I do to myself. So that tells us that everything, and then the medicine wheel tells us that everything is a sacred hoop. So what the colonialists did to us, they really did to themselves. And that tells me that's coming around, and that's affecting you in some kind of way. You feel it, you feel the pain, the anguish, the hurt, the pain, even though you're maybe a generation or two away from that. When we talk about unseen realms, that's still going around, and it will go around until we heal each other. And that's why I do what I do, is because I don't want to have what's happened to me to my children to happen ever again. And this is the only way that I know how to stop, to break the silence, to break the cycle, to break the violence of that. It's to really be, to really be, to share that medicine. And again, this medicine belongs to all roads. It does not just belong to me. So
Thank you.
so,
Thank you for that gift.
Thank you very much. So so what we're going to do is we're going to finish the actual show now, but we're going to have a bit of fellowship afterwards, and you can ask some freestyle questions as well. So that means I get to shut up and I'm not the filter. But I'm going to ask the final question, is something that we ask all the time, and I'm just going to this is the traditional final question we ask in this, and it goes like this. You have won the lottery, and you've won $6 billion, and you're mega rich. You've sold, all your books have just like skyrocketed. You've just wealth of you.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
right?
Who won
Yeah.
that?
And you don't even give any to me. You know what I mean? It's one of those. We're not friends anymore, Wayne. But you decide you're going to get your family going to get together and you buy a super mega yacht, one of those big mega yachts with about 100 rooms, and you're living in wealth, and you've got your captain's hat on and your sunglasses. You're on the deck and you're heading south to the South Pacific, somewhere off the coast of Fiji. You run aground and you strike a submerged coral reef, a huge gash in the side of the boat, and the ship starts to sink. So all you've got time to do is grab a plastic bag and a book from the bookcase. You put the book in the bag, you dive overboard, you swim to the island, and you await rescue, and you've got only this one book to read. What's the book that you grab? Who wrote it and why? And it can't be your own book. It has to be somebody else's book. Here we go. Way. Hold it up. There we go.
John Coyce.
Okay. And why is that? Why? Just give us a few words on why.
Medicine from all roads, all directions. This is filled with books, with wisdom from those that have come, before us. That it will remind me of what is really, really important, and that's the sanctity and protection of life, all roads, all countries, all nations, all colors. It's those that have come before us already know, and those that have to come after us, the future generations. I'm doing what I'm doing for the next 7 generations, not only for this beautiful circle here, but it's to really, our job is to carry that medicine to the next 7 generations. So.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So that's it for this week. And I just want to say a big thank you to my team in the background, particularly Anne Kavanagh there, who does a great job rounding us all up in the background. And obviously Lebowski and Kaiser, who certainly under a great deal of support. And Joe C, who rocks up most weeks as well. It's always great to have you here too, my friend. So thank you very much. We're going to be back here again next week. Remember that you can see this again on YouTube, on Here's Tom with the Weather, the YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook, the Here's Tom with the Weather Facebook page. Please join us. And it's also, this will be available on Spotify and iTunes if and when Mr. Lebowski gets his act together. Sorry to give you hard times, James, but thank you so much for your help. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much. Oh, great show, Wayne. Thanks very much. I'll unmute.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for...
So what I'm going to do,
having me.
If anyone
wants to ask questions, hold on. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand and you can address Wayne yourself, and we'll just sort of govern that a little bit because it turns into a bit of a free-for-all. If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand in the participants column, and I'll get you in.
Yeah, James, maybe start a new one.
No, we
it won't do that. It'll just pause and.
Yeah, we're good. We'll keep recording. It's okay. Keep going. So the book was there. Dale says, what book was it? It's The Medicine Wheel, was it? Is that the name of the book?
Meditations with Native American Elders. Meditations with Native American Elders, and again with
Can you hold it right up close to the screen for us?
Oh yeah, so here it is. There it is.
Meditations with Native American Elders.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and they've got a few. There's a few questions in chat as well.
Sure.
Let's have a look. So there's one here from Gail. I think Gail asked one. I'm sorry, Gail, I didn't get around to you. Oh, sorry. I think it's Carol says, there are several stories on her website about powwows, including a sobriety powwow at the Muckleshoot tribe in Washington State and some canoe journeys in Washington. So when we'll enable chat, and Carol, if you want to put the details for that in chat. Also, let's have a look here. Do you live, somebody wants to know whether you live in Florida. Obviously, no way. Do you now live in Florida? She'd like your info. If you can, I could give you hers. This is, I think it's Carol. I have several Native American friends. A few have died with many years sober. And there are a few, I guess, few nations in South Florida near where she lives. She's got a phone number, so I guess I could pass it on to you if you want it.
Yeah. Pass along to me. I'm in. Actually, this is kind of like I'm down the street from Dr. Bob's house. So.
Oh wow.
I could throw a rock to his house right now and just look down the street. It's right there. I'm in Akron right now. I work for a nonprofit, the Packard Institute here, setting up house band and their recovery, some more recovery programs type that. And but I have a strong connection with South Florida. So hopefully sooner rather than later, I will be part of heading down there to again run ceremonies again. So yeah, so send me all that contact information.
I've just emailed you. I've just messaged you Carol stuff. So
okay.
Yeah. So now listen, I'm going to just jump the gun here. My apologies, but I've got a really good friend in the room, and this is biased, but her name is Brenda M, and she's from Redcliffe. She's First Nation in Australia, and I think she's got a question for. She's a very good friend of mine. So Brenda, good to see you, Brenda.
Hi, David. It's good to see you. So sorry I missed the meeting. I thought it was 7 o'clock. It's 7 a.m. in Australia time, but 7:20 now. So Wayne, I'm so sorry I missed your share. But I was listening to the questions. Yeah, I did a lot of, had a lot of books. I used to always get Native American books to read in my early days in recovery. I was very displaced and confused about things, and I read a book from a Native American chief who got into AA, and he was going through what I went through. He was afraid he was going to lose his culture and his identity, and he went back out again, but he realised he could come back and put them together, mesh, bring it together. And that's what I've had to learn to do, because I grew up on with all my elders, all my Aboriginal clan. I was displaced. We grew up on the outskirts of a small country town, about 200 of us. I was born a fringe dweller and was in the era of when we were assimilating into white man's society, and experienced massive amounts of abuse and racism. But, I've learnt to do what you've done. I love what you were saying about walking in two worlds, and the fact that the thing that has always guided me is the unseen. I've never heard that from anyone, so I really loved hearing you share that.
What did I say? What?
I love the fact that you talked about the unseen, because that's what I've always lived my life from, that in that plane, that it's what you can't see that's more real than what you can see. What we see is all an illusion. But what I wanted to ask you is, I've had to leave my native lands and I haven't been able to get home. Like, that's where I come from. I'm a Bidjara woman. That's my tribe, Bidjara. And I've suffered immense grief around so much about country.
Right.
And like we say, that we don't own the land owns us. But I experience being displaced. I feel a lot of being displaced, which causes my spirit much grief.
Right.
I don't know if I've conquered that yet. I can't seem to get that out of my spirit, the sense of being displaced. Got any wise words? But I connect with the Mother Earth a lot through the ocean. She's like the womb of the mother.
Right.
That's where I get my healing.
Absolutely. And for many Indigenous all over the world, we've been, genocide, and sometimes genocide looks like being displaced. So that's, let's call it what it is, for any reason, but the upside is, and you really hit it on the head, is, the unseen world, and we are there is sometimes thousands of ancestors walking with us at any one time. It's just we are guided, loved, nurtured, protected. I can tell you've been protected by many times, by your ancestors. And, very, very, you've been very protected your whole life. So, one of those things that when I'm having a moment, I have to close my eyes and I see my ancestors standing next to me. warrior women and there's warrior grandmothers and there's it is their prayers that are still carrying us. Those prayers never end. you know you know the prayers, the day the grandmother's prayers end, is a really, really sad day. So we know, and we're the ones that really carry those prayers of love and life. And so just kind of it's something I do in sweat lodge ceremony. Is when we open up that sacred space, it is the same sacred space that our ancestors have been in for thousands of years. So there may be 10 or 15 people in there, but there are really millions of us in there, and we can carry that wisdom, their love, their guidance with the unseen world, and you can literally go back to ceremony with them. The colonial will call it life regression or something like that. It's just like, no, it's just like close your eyes and ask them to come and be guided, and they are waiting and begging for us to, one, remember them, to one, acknowledge them, to walk with them, to take them. They're begging us to go back to ceremony with them. And so you come from very, very strong people, very, very strong, very strong people going back thousands of years. And so you have thousands of years of your ancestors walking with you right now. So I would make an offering, no matter what that offering looks like. Use your traditional offerings. I always say, just grow up. If you grew up with tradition, use that tradition. But start by saying hello and thank you. Thank you.
You know what, Brenda?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I know why we've met up again now. It's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I haven't seen Brenda in 12 years, and we recently hooked up at a 12-step meeting, and we were good mates in real life. So it's really wonderful that you've come along here, Brenda.
God bless you all.
I can't believe Zoom. Zoom is amazing. It's amazing. CJ. CJ's got a question. CJ. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Wayne. I'm CJ. I am an alcoholic, even though this isn't an AA meeting, but whatever. My question has to do with like your daily spiritual practice. Is there something that you do daily? And then is it different from the AA prayers? Do you have your own like medicine wheel kind of prayers that you do daily?
That's most seen and unseen, spiritual and physical, running the gamut of what, the elders taught me to do, and what to do. And, every day has a little different spin, but it's basically the same principles. We're really talking about spirit of intent, and the spirit of intent is really, getting connected to what AA would call the higher power of God, whatever that is. We call it Kitchi Manitou, that great spirit, that great love. I call it, because there was such violence in my past, I call it the great gentleness, the great kindness, the great nurturing, because that's what this bear really needs, to remember to be, loved and nurtured. And also, when I make that connection, there's some spiritual things, I know I'm already connected, but I really need to physically go out and, like a price has to be paid type thing. The big book really says it really well. That's what they say, a price has to be paid. We got to put some skin in the game type thing. We just can't sit there, wake up and be like, okay, let's, I'll do whatever I want because I'm connected to God type thing. No, there's some really, things, and this is one of them, this is really, so that's grounding, that's medicine. I have a whole plate full of medicine here, that it is the smoke that connects us all, both seen and unseen. It brings in those beautiful relatives that I naturally just sometimes forget, that I have. It reminds me, the smoke of the sacred herbs reminds me of home, and I can't do that in unseen realms. It's got to be in seen physical realms. So plus I do a daily meditation every day, again, kind of based off my book and the hollow bones, and really really getting, connected to the people. And a big part of my meditation is really helping others too, so that's kind of like when we got a colonial mindset where meditation is all about me, where really we're really spiritual dyslexic, is meditation is really all about connecting us right there. So, it's like, well, I got to get connected to God, which is good, that's not bad, but it would be better if you said, I got to get connected to everything good.
Oh, thanks very much.
And we could do that. We can do that. And again, I run a meditation group every morning on Facebook. You are all invited to join us on Facebook and really and really get to business, man. We got to put some skin in the game, man. We are we are connected to all other life, and a lot of those life, we are the voices and the protectors of all those other lives out there, and we are failing big time as a species protecting all other life. We got to work cut out for us, but one day at a time we can do it.
Thank you very much. And just to say that we put the Wayne's Facebook group again. It's been in there a few times in chat. And that's at look on Facebook at Wayne.Snellgrove.1. So it's in there. So for anyone who's listening to this recording, WayneWilliam.Snellgrove.1. Also, you can find his book on Amazon. So just look for Wayne Snellgrove on Amazon, and I'm sure it's going to rock up for you there.
Right there, yeah.
There it is there, yeah. Good stuff.
Yep.
So Jeb, how are you, mate?
Well, thanks. Thanks, David. My name is Jeb, and I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic addict. And I realized today that I still have a long ways to go. I've only been in recovery for 42 and a half years, which is 15,530 days, one day at a time. I'm the one that I asked that question about the ceremony of tears because I don't normally talk as personally as this, but I have never cried about my serial sexual abuse as a child and a young adult. I've never cried. However, I cry about Norman's, that's my partner who committed suicide 36 years ago. When I hear another victim sharing, I take it internally and I cry very empathetically. But when I testify in the State House here about the child sexual assault and so forth, I have no expression. And I know that when these things happened, I also didn't cry. I wouldn't be asking you this if I didn't think it was a problem, and I'm looking for a solution to that. Is there a ceremony of tears that I need to get into and to invite that to happen? I'm so impressed by the talk about the material and the non-material, the material and the spiritual, which means non-material. But I'm obviously missing something.
Create, great question. Like how, basically like how do I get there type thing. I need directions type thing. Beautiful questions. Let's that's a question that I posed to my ancestors, my Tony's, and I've had this abuse too, and like I don't know how to I would sit up in my 20s and 30s curled up in a ball in the side of a room for a week at a time, just not knowing what happened, not being hit by a sledgehammer and not knowing why or how or what's going on. And I was in psych ward for a long time because I just didn't know, so honed, focused, realized spirit of intent and say, look, tears are a spirit, everything's a spirit. And then and again, what we're doing here is we're making good relations. We're making good relations with the truth, with honesty, to compassion, to gentleness, to courage, to willingness. All these things are spirits. These are not just empty elements that are out there, kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to get courage today, I'm going to look at courage today, it's kind of like, no, we have to invite that spirit in. We have to invite the spirit of the tears in. We have to invite the grandmothers in. Those things, we have to make good relations with them and really have that spirit of intent. Say, look, this is where I'm at. I'm hurting. I don't know how to cry. Men don't know how to cry. They were told not to, especially, you're weak, you're feminine, you're less than, kind of thing. And really it's, again, we're in a spiritual dyslexic situation where we really need to courage is tears. Courage is tears, courage is the ability to release, and courage is love. In your situation, they're telling me love right now. You're withholding that love right now. That's what they're telling me right now. You're withholding that love from that place of, healing, loss aside, you're still withholding, that love. And that's part of it. We will never be fully healed, until those tears have fallen, they're, again, we're behind on our prayers, we're behind on our tears, So.
Yeah, I understand that on an intellectual level. And I suddenly remember in my 20s when I went to a Colombian shaman in New York City. And he told me during his trance state that there was an old Indian spirit I was attached to. But I sort of just brushed that off. But it occurs to me that maybe I don't listen enough or invite the help of these entities that are around us. And that's an abstract thought for me, but thank you.
Invite that in. That's what I'm saying. It's not abstract. Like, and again, it's that colonial thinking, like that's kind of over there. We're all in the sacred hoop, so it's sitting in the circle with us. It's probably sitting next to you right now. Not, maybe do some practical things by just here. I got a notepad here, but just write it out and just say, this is, maybe that's a more practical term. Write it out, write exactly what you need, write exactly where you want to go, write exactly why you need to do this. Spirit works, it works with intent here. We have to be very, very clear and very intentional about what we're doing, why we're doing it. You have a lot of people walking around you, by the way. You have a lot of people walking around you. So talk to those unseen things and their spirits that are around you, and invite them in. And this is a ceremony of the heart. We have to go there. We just have to go there. Like the only way through is through type thing. There's no way around this. It's just kind of like, we want other people to do things for us. So I'm not you, and I'm not implying you, but I'm implying in general. Hey, that's where the pharmaceutical industry is huge now, because I want you to take care of me, because I don't want to look at my stuff type thing. It's pharmaceutical thinking. Well, really, the spiritual thinking is like, one, what happened to you, and two, the only way through is through.
That encourages me to take another step. Thank you very much. That's what I needed.
Okay.
Cheers, Jeb. It's so good to have you here, Jeb. Thank you very much for coming in like that, fella. Now, Xochi, you want to come in?
Hi, I'm Xochi Quetzal. Wayne, I want to thank you for your share. You're so brave. I grew up on a reservation here in America, and I was taught very early on by my elders that it was not okay to share our traditions and our culture. I believe it was because they were afraid that it would be exploited, stolen, and stolen, just like everything else in their lives. And I admired the way you a little bit of room between your traditions and your ceremonies. I do the same thing, and I was curious, is there anything that you do on your daily to stay connected to your spiritual basis? Any outdoor, I'm one of those, raise my hands to the sky and thank the Creator for guiding and protecting me, Is there anything that you do for yourself to keep you connected to your ancestors and your planet?
2 words: share love. That's everything right there. Forgive all the time, share love. Again, part of what I do is connected to myself as I help others, kind of thing. There are, very ceremonial things, that I do, but, it's really, ceremony never ends type thing. life to death. We're in that constant state of, ceremony. I sit with, Leonard Peltier, and he wrote a book, my life is a Sundance type thing. So everything we do is mindful, prayerful, ceremonial type thing. It's not just like, like I go to church on Sundays and just pray or pray 5 times a day or something like that. No, we are in prayer all the time, and we have to be reminded to be in ceremony all the time, and everything we say, do, the way we walk, the way we touch, the way we honor, the way we treat our feminine, the way we read the masculine, let that be, ceremonial. But in the morning, I do very specific things, and again, they're just very specific, and it is the smoke that connects us all, so let us bathe, in this beautiful way of life, and let us bathe in the celebration of life, and let's bring our ancestors in, and let's really celebrate that to the fullest as often as we can, and also go to other ceremonies too and celebrate them, and also celebrate. Part of celebrating us is also celebrating other roads too. So really, bringing them into the fold. And I understand what you mean by protection of the sacred ways. But let's remember out there, for you, those of you who don't know, our ceremonial ways were illegal until the late 70s. They shot, murdered us, threw us in prison for doing what I'm doing now, until I think it was 78 or 79. The spiritual Native American Freedom Act or something. I forget what it's called. I'm sorry I butchered that, but it was just kind of like, so these ways are really coming back. And so what worked, so what worked before, we have to bring back now. We really have to bring that back now. So that's hold on. Hey. Yeah, just kind of sit out there for a second. I'm going to wrap it up here. Okay. All right.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Zochi. Okay. Final question from Sean, and then I was going to say,
guys. Hold on. Okay.
We're having a podcast here, guys. Come on.
I got a spot C here. So okay.
All right. After Sean, I was just wondering if you might give us a couple of minutes of flute playing, because it was so beautiful. So, but Sean, do you want to ask a quick question, mate?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Wayne. It's not so much a question as it is, I just want to honor you at this time and say thank you. I want to acknowledge your ancestors, of who you are and where you come from. And I'm really full of feeling right now, a lot of a strong feeling of this good medicine that you've shared with us. And I really identified to you my own life. My father is from Mexico. He's Yaqui Indian, and
good medicine.
And my mother is Irish and Norwegian, and I grew up without my father and having that self-hatred that you talked about. So and I've been healing that self-hatred, and I'm at a really good place. And so without taking up too much more time, and since I don't have a question, I just wanted to thank you for bringing that message of love, because that's where I'm at today, and that's where that good medicine is at. And I just want to say aho, akeha, najonia. I just want to say good ways, and honor you that way for and I do have a question, but it's so detailed, it's do
I'll put you in touch, Sean. I'll put you in touch.
Put me in touch. Yeah.
Okay.
Good one. Thanks, Sean. So lovely to have you here, mate. Wonderful. Really glad. So, Wayne, will you finish off with a bit of flute, mate? I think we'd all love to hear it again.
Absolutely. This is really beautiful. The medicine behind this is take one or two things and really sit with that, really ground. Just take one of those things, love, one, maybe celebration of tears, lost ceremony of tears, listening, and really sit with that, and let the flute, the standing people really ground us, in that. Take that medicine, and that medicine will be grounded, with us, in us, in the both seen and unseen world. if no one said that they love you, say I love you all very much.
We've heard that. That's wonderful.
So thank you. So
Wayne,
thank you.
thank you very much. Wayne, I'll be in touch. We'll have a chat about setting up that Zoom meeting for you, mate. I'll give you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to love up on you today. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Wayne. Go and attend to those sponsees, mate. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Love
Treat
you
them
guys.
mean. Be mean.
Okay.
Be mean. See you later, mate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Wayne.
Bye.